Good evening, all. Brother Patrick, thank you for coming on. Mama Tendai, good evening.
Hey, Baba.
Ah, hey, Sister Rabita.
Hotep, Baba Mosi, how are you?
Good, good, good. Thank you for being on.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Okay, now, at this time, as soon as I get the cue from the engineer,
we're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. All right. So we're being recorded, and everyone who I can see they're just looking good. So I know they're ready for this conversation. So again, friends and family of the UNIA-ACL RC2020, Division 330, all those who are on Facebook page, good evening. Thank you for being on. We are going to be discussing an important feature of today's world in this new year, 2025, and that is the issue of Cuba and Haiti, two countries whose revolution has a specific date, January 1st, and who are at this time of the year, every time we have to do a review as to, what's been happening, So we're going to do that just as soon as I finish with the preliminaries, and which is the official pledge to the flag, the UNIA flag, and the preamble of the Constitution. So let me go right away. Now, today, being January 10th, it's a Friday, and we are going to start with this official pledge to the flag. I commit my body, mind, and spirit to the protection, defense, and security of the red, black, and green. I dedicate my life to the redemption of Mother Africa and the liberation of her scattered black children. I accept for myself and my descendants the teachings of universal African nationalism, and I promise that our children will be instilled with the purpose and knowledge of themselves as African people, in order that the cause of our struggle will neither falter nor fail until all our people are free and united through one God, one aim, one destiny. And of course, we operate on a platform, which is the Constitution, the UNIA-ACL, which was promulgated in 1920 at the convention in New York City. The Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League is a social-friendly, humanitarian, charitable, educational, institutional, constructive, and expansive society, and is founded by persons desiring to the utmost to work for the general uplift of the Negro peoples of the world. And the members pledge themselves to do all in their power to conserve the rights of their noble race and to respect the rights of all mankind, believing always in the brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God. The motto of the organization is one God, one aim, one destiny. Therefore, let justice be done to all mankind, realizing that if the strong oppresses the weak, confusion and discontent will ever mark the path of man. But with love, faith, and charity towards all, the reign of peace and plenty will be heralded into the world, and the generations of man shall be called blessed. Now that is the preamble of the Constitution, which is our guiding light, our pathway to improvement of the African peoples around the world, excluding none, throughout this planet we call Earth. Okay, so now let me say that tonight we are not playing around, because a lot of things are happening in this world that are affecting this hemisphere. and two places in this hemisphere. We're going to be talking about Cuba and Haiti. There's a lot of things going on that's not being projected in the corporate press. So we don't know exactly what is happening if we are waiting for them to tell us. We have to probe, we have to dig, we have to do our own research, our own consultations. And so that is why we have two people on this evening, two warriors, two justice warriors, two warriors for peace, two warriors who have empathy for the peoples of Cuba and Haiti. Close connections as well. And there are things that are happening there now that we hope we can make clear to some of us as to where we should stand. Don't be fooled. And we are going to have our sister, Eugenia Charles, who hails from Ayiti, who is, of course, as I mentioned before, a justice warrior, whose program on WPFW FM 89.3, which is Come Beat the Kai, and that program discusses Haiti and issues of Haiti, the people of Haiti. And if you have not yet listened to her on that program, I invite you to tune in every Wednesday evening. I think that's at 7 o'clock. Is that right, sister? Yes. And you can get updates as well as some things that we can consider to be the truth. We are searching for the truth. We are the truth seekers here. And that is why we're here for this discussion. And we also have Brother Bambose Shango, another justice warrior, one who has traversed the hemisphere, one who has been to Cuba on several occasions, one who has always has his eyes on what is going on there, and one who has been adamant about the United States stopping this blockade that it has on the Cuban people. And the Cuban people are suffering, and they are trying to blame the Cuban people for everything when the issue is the United States blockading Cuba, and they cannot operate without getting access to the resources that they need to make their country. And the Cuban people have, this is 60 years plus, I think, and we have to admire them for their strength and resolve in maintaining the revolution, that January 1st revolution that they did in 1959. And so we're going to ask our guests, presenters, to share with us what they feel are the issues we should be paying attention to in Haiti as well as Cuba. Now, I will ask Sister Eugenia Charles to say a few words in the beginning, opening up, and also from the good brother Bambose, and then we'll do a discussion, back and forth, that is, or a presentation if you would like. So, sister, you're on. The floor is yours.
Greetings, everyone. Happy New Year to you all. But us Haitian, we say bon combat. It's a year of struggles for a good fight. I'm always happy to receive invitations to be in camaraderie with you all to share updates about what's going on in Haiti. And Baba Bambose, it's a pleasure to be on the panel with you again. A lot is going on back home. Whatever you're seeing on the corporate media and of course the challenges of insecurity that we are encountering. So I look forward to sharing some updates as we move further in the discussion.
Okay, my sister. Bambose.
Yeah, thank you and all of you for being here and for the invitation, and especially it's an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure always to be on a program with our sister, Eugenia Charles. I know that we're 25 years, a quarter of a century into this century, and things are changing rapidly. And I think that we're probably bearing witness to some of the things that we hope would change and where we thought we would be in this part of the century. And we're looking forward. We know that, like Haiti, on the 1st of January, the Freedom March into Havana of the guerrilla forces led by Fidel in 1958 was a key fact of why they are in the situation they're in today. I would like to just take a minute to congratulate President Maduro, who was inaugurated today, and who the United States, as you may have seen, have increased the bounty on his head as a means of threatening him into doing not necessarily the right thing, but what the U.S. wants him to do. So thank you, and we're looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you, my good brother. Thank you very much for that update. And folks, and those of you who are on, Facebook, you know that we will later, upload this to the YouTube as well. And so you have another opportunity to review and share. And I hope you will share this discussion with others who may not have been able to be on this show this evening. Now, my sister, Eugenia, this year, what we are hearing and what I have heard, and what the only thing I've been hearing is that, how the gangs are destroying Cuba. Not Cuba, I'm sorry, Ayiti. And 6,000 near 6,000 people have been killed over the last year. And seems that everything is being blamed on these so-called gangs. So let me allow you to start where you want to start, on what you feel is the most important thing we should view and concern ourselves with right now regarding what is happening in Haiti.
Thank you, Bambose. You're right. That is the report that is being circulated. I think before I even get into the talking about the gang, I've been reflecting upon these numbers, because the numbers that are being circulated by the different newspapers are numbers that are coming from the UN folks who are in Haiti. As you know, the United Nations has a mission in Haiti that's called, the acronym is BNU, that is being headed by Miss Isabel Salvador. So the numbers are quick, and I'm asking to myself, Haiti is infested with gangs, particularly the area of Port-au-Prince and a portion of the Artibonite department. How are they able to get these numbers so quickly? It's the questions that I've been asking myself. So how did we get all these gangs to take over the towns in Haiti? We have different type of gangs. The international community are a group of gangs on their own. Then we have the politicians in suits. That's another groups of gang. And then we have the young men and women who receive weapons from the politicians and the international community who are victims of the system and the propagandas in the country, who are now using US-made weapons to terrorize the Haitian population. So the young men and women, these are children who raised in a country where the system has been broken and crippled through the use of imperialistic policies, through IMF, World Bank structural adjustment policies that has deprived
They act like they want to.
Sister, can you put yourself on mute, please?
Oh, yes, excuse me.
These policies impacted the nations very much so, because school, a large part of our school is been privatized, even though per the Haitian Constitution, the government is responsible for providing free education. A large part of the education system has been revamped, privatized based on recommendations from the World Bank and the IMF. So the people who's been put to head the Ministry of Education's work on agendas and program that tailors more to the needs of the international community as a way to train more people to come work in the US, to come work for Canada, to come work for France. For me, I call it a modern day slavery. When a government has been prevented from providing subsidies to local farmers, then therefore they are unable to produce enough food to be able to feed the populations. I'm sure some of you have heard about the rice productions that we have that's been crippled by the dumping of US rice on the ground. And there was a study done that was released last year showing that the rice that is coming from the United States is toxic, and it's giving the people cancer. There are a lot of new emerging diseases that we are seeing around our community. Those are things that we have not seen before when we were eating more organic food. Because back in 1985 or so, Haiti was producing enough rice to feed the populations. I know that sounds far out, but that means we had the capacity and the ability to produce. We've had rice coming from Vietnam through NATCOM, the telecommunication company, because that institution was forced to be privatized by the IMF and the World Bank. So the Haitian government has about 40% share in the company, but the rest is with a company from Vietnam. And they brought rice seeds to Haiti, where they were given to different populations to plant, but that type of rice is not the same as the organic rice that we produce back home. So as a result, a lot of rats destroys those plantations, which the peasant lost a lot through that. So the area where the rice were being produced in large quantity in Haiti to feed the population, there's been gangs placed in that area. Many of the people who used to be able to produce rice can no longer produce it, because once they're not getting the subsidies to do that, they had to flee the area because of the gangs. And the less Haiti produce, the more room there is for foreign companies to dump rice in Haiti. We know there was a lot of rice coming from Arkansas through the making of Bill Clinton's, but now the rice that is being sent to Haiti is coming from Louisiana. So with the political situation and bringing a multinational force in the country, that is part of the lobbying efforts of the rice companies here in the US to be able to get soldiers to secure Haitian ports for them to maneuver through the country with their rice, where they will spend less money. Because if the multinational force is not there to control the ports for them, they will have to pay money to the gangs to be able to get through with the rice, even though the rice is contaminated rice. So that's there. So for the young men who have the weapons, these are young men who were community leaders in their neighborhoods, who during elections period receive weapons from corrupt politicians that have been endorsed with money coming from USAID to the good democratics and good governance policies. The US government often gives money to help build multiple political parties to promote political pluralism as a way to limit the number of people who go out and vote. Because if you have the main party, which is Lavalas, Famille Lavalas, the party of former President Jean-Bertrand Aristide, there's been an effort by there's been a large effort to limit the number of popular votes in the country. As you know, back then in 1990, with the first elected president, it was over 65% of the vote, was 67% who elected Aristide, and that was a major blow to the international community. Then it was difficult for them to manipulate the electoral vote. But when you have a political pluralisms where you have multiple parties with everyone fighting to win, so that kind of break down the vote, then no one person is able to receive the majority of the vote. So that makes it easy for the international community to dictate who's going to be president or who's going to be deputy, who's going to be senators. And the other thing is the efforts to allow people who have bad past to come into office. Then it makes it easier for them to manipulate and dictate what they can do. Because if you've been involved in killing people, if you've been involved in drug trafficking and stuff, and the international community allow you to become a deputy, a senator, or president, they can easily call you and say, if you don't do X, then I'm going to put your dossier out. If you don't do Y, then I'm going to make your children who are going to school in the US come back into Haiti. If you don't do Y, the house that you have purchased in Florida, I will have the bank repossessed it. So those are all ways to threaten. So those young men who had received weapons during the election period, they kept those weapons after the elections. So those are weapons that are being used to terrorize the populations. So as they became involved in kidnapping, in ransoming people, they've purchased more weapons. It is true the US had placed an embargo on the Haitian government after the dismantlement of the Haitian army. The embargo right now, if the government wanted to purchase weapons for the Haitian National Police, they need to get permissions from the State Department to allow them to sign contract with companies that is favorable to US policies. And even though they may order the weapons from, let's say, Canada, they order the ammunitions, but then it will be a US planes who come delivered these ammunitions, so the contract gets split up, the money doesn't stay in one place. So the weapons that are being used by the likes of barbecue, somebody who's many people have heard on the news, or the different gangs in the country, the majority of those weapons are coming from the United States. There was reports that been put out by UNDOC, an institution within the United Nations, showing what the weapons that are coming, being purchased here in DC, in Florida, in different states in the US. Those weapons are transported either through containers from Florida, from New York, and then they go through the Dominican Republic. Some get travels to Jamaica and then taken by boats into Haiti. There's been multiple occasions when containers arrive from the US at the ports in Haiti. When the police opens them, they will find the weapons. So these are heavy weapons that makes a lot of damages. Recently, there was like just last month, there's one particular heavy machinery gun that went to a gang leader in the Quadrebuque area. And that particular weapon, when it was looked at by people who are familiar with the weapon, it costs about $30,000 to purchase that weapon. But one of them is in the hands of a gang in Haiti. So you wonder, how does this weapon, and it's a US made weapon, how does it leave the United States to end it up in Haiti? We have a new presidential council in the country since Ariel was put to the side early spring 2024, when the gangs, the way they operate, you can say that they are being controlled by hands that we do not see. But if you follow the political process in Haiti, you can say that the US governments have hands in what's going on. The US current ambassador in Haiti, Mr. Dennis Hopkins, have stated in an interview that he was doing with Haitian media that his office or himself on occasion speak to the gang leaders to find out whether or not when they're shooting out on the streets, if the shooting is being targeted toward the US embassy, so he will know what to do to protect his staff. So that will bear to ask the questions, how is it that an ambassador will be in direct contact with gangs on the ground, gangs that are terrorizing the Haitian population, when they say that they are there working and providing security? We have a multinational force that is in Haiti. It was voted by the resolutions from the UN. That multinational force has been put together by the US. It is true that it is being led by Kenya, but it's controlled by the US. We currently have different countries who are representatives who are part of the missions. The Kenyans have the majority. They so far have about 380 people, police officers on the ground. We recently have 150 police officers from Guatemala who landed in Haiti about last week. We have some from Salvador, some from Jamaica, some from Belize. The current Minister of Foreign Affairs is actually in Benin, signing new diplomatic protocol with Benin so they can get soldiers from Benin to come to Haiti. Haiti had not had bilateral relationship with Kenya, but in an effort to facilitate Kenya to send police to Haiti, the de facto government in Haiti had to sign some kind of memorandum of understanding with Kenya in order to facilitate the Kenyan police to come into Haiti. There's attorneys in Kenya who had taken the Kenyan government to court with regard to sending police forces to outside of Kenya into Haiti. The court had ruled in their favor, but irregardless, Mr. Ruto and his government circumvents the process and still send officers there. So Mr. Ruto visited Haiti briefly for a few hours. When he got there, he praised with his police officers. So among those 380 police officers, there's said to have been about 20 of them who resigned because they were not received their pay that was promised to them. And some of them, they said, to resign over the working conditions. Yes, those forces are on the ground, but they don't normally accompany the Haitian police officers into doing operations, because operations cannot be conducted unless the U.S. Embassy provide permissions for that to happen. So the gangs have controlled more territories. They were a coalitions. They've recently announced that they are no longer a coalition. They are now a political party. With the current 9-member presidential council that we have in office right now, that 9-member presidential council is the making of the U.S. through the process that was organized within CARICOM. It was like in the summer of 2023, the Vice President Kamala Harris had visited the Caribbean and met with members of CARICOM and promised them different kind of loans or access to money to be able to handle the situation in Haiti. So CARICOM has become the lead mediators among the Haitian political sectors. So we have 9 individuals who are now president, but one of them is the coordinator of the body. So the current coordinator is Leslie Voltaire, who is representing the Famille Lavalas political party, the Jean-Bertrand Aristide political party. So there's no decision really. So one other thing, Leslie Voltaire had asked for certain resources from the U.S. government that they were not getting. So he recently went to ALBA, regional organizations. I'm sure some of you are familiar with ALBA. So he's asked ALBA for help. It's a lot. So yes, we have gangs, and yes, a lot of people have died and know that the weapons killing the Haitians are weapon coming from the US. To stop the gangs, you need to stop the flow of weapons, because once they do not have ammunitions, they will not be as powerful. So if the US government will agree to use the resources that they have to check the containers that are being sent to Haiti for weapons, they can stop them before they land there. There is a resolution that was passed at the UN imposing embargoes, saying that member countries should not be sending weapons to Haiti. The US government so far has refused to implement that particular resolutions in terms of working toward limiting the traffic flow of weapons going into the ground. So we still have the core groups who are the 9-member countries who are basically making the decision in terms of what can be done, who will be ministers, who qualifies to be ministers, who qualifies to be members of the presidential consensus and what have you. So we are under a trusteeship, mainly being controlled by the US government, even though Canada is heavily involved, but they are just a second hand to do whatever the US does not agree to step forward to do. So the US pushing for the multilateral missions to go to Haiti, the majority of the money that has been allocated so far for the international missions, those money have been contracted out to US companies. So yes, the Kenyans are there, but the money that's supposed to pay them has not fully been dispersed. The armored vehicles that the US have provided for the multinational missions are not properly equipped for the members of the missions to utilize to go out and do operations. And the few times they went out with it, they were taken over by the gangs. they could not even come out of it. The Kenyan soldiers could not even come out of it to defend themselves. The Haitian police officers had to go rescue them. So it is a mess. It's a mess. So I'll stop there. I'll take questions later on and provide some more context.
Thank you, my sister. Thank you for that overview. You know, it's chilling. It's very chilling. I can make comments, but I'd say questions later, you know, regarding that. So we can move over to Brother Bambose and give his view as to what is the most important thing we should be thinking about right now concerning what is happening in Cuba, to be specific. But we know whatever is happening in Cuba has a lot to do with what is happening in the entire Latin America. But to be specific, to hear your overview of what of 2024 and some of the things that is affecting Cuba at this moment that we're not hearing about, but we know from the reports that we're getting that there's an invisible hand operating in the Cuban economy, etc. So yes, my brother, I give the floor over to you.
Thank you, Brother Mosi, and thank you, Sister Eugenia. It's just amazing how these similar threads keep running through all of these different situations where we're located as a people. The African diaspora suffers from so much similarities that we have to unite. You know, in Chicago, one of the largest and probably strongest gang was the Blackstone Rangers, who renamed themselves the El Rukins. And the El Rukins worked out of a church in Hyde Park. The church was where they stored their weapons. And the church was run by a white man named Reverend Fry. And Reverend Fry had a background as being a CIA in Africa and Asia. And so you begin to see these connections between our different struggles, and it again forces us to see why we have to unite. I think that the situation in Cuba is the U.S. final stage of their regime change program that they have been working at since 1958, 1959. And the amount of sanctions that the U.S. have placed on Cuba has strained Cuba's ability to serve their community like they used to. And so for probably the first time since 1958, or maybe the crisis in 1991, when the Soviet Union fell, people in Cuba are actually suffering. People are starving. Even people with money can't buy food because it don't exist. And added to that, the years of sanction that has caused the infrastructure to deteriorate is now producing the issues and problems that you find in the electric grid, for example, where Cuba's now suffering blackouts, and it's very serious for the people, but Cuba is not the only place. I mean, Puerto Rico is suffering the same thing. I understand to some smaller degree, you even have it in Jamaica. And blackouts is not something that the Caribbean is used to, because they overcame that almost 50 years ago. But it's not just the blackouts in Cuba. The water filtration and pumping system is also suffering in disrepair. And I just saw this week that China is sending a boatload of electrical parts to upgrade the electrical system, because in all reality, even though Cuba may want, they cannot get it from the United States. And because of the hold that the United States have, the way they've made the sanctions multinational out of fear from the United States, most countries in Europe are afraid to help. If they send anything to Cuba that has 10% of materials made in the United States, they face fines. I mean, what does this say about sovereign countries? How sovereign are they? But this is the situation, and Cuba has been creative. They are making parts and stuff that they have not made before. It's like during the pandemic, they had to make their own respirators because they couldn't get it. They couldn't buy it, even from Europe. They couldn't get it shipped in. So this creativity on the part of Cubans are coming in to assist in these very serious and very bad situations. Also, on the other hand, Cuba has the great thriving pharmaceutical industry, and they have been able to come up with cures for diseases that, if Americans were able to go to Cuba to get service, or if those diseases, the medicines that are being created, could be utilized in the United States, it would be able to solve problems like chest cancer, like diabetes that cause amputation. They have these medicines and much more. And the United States public don't know that they could resolve these problems, these health problems, not in the U.S. hospitals, but just 90 miles away at a little island, who the U.S. is blocking from sending these medications to the United States. So there is now a ramping up of the movement in solidarity with Cuba that has taken place around the U.S., and hopefully it will be successful. But they're doing things like they're sending a number of people to Cuba because the Cuban tourist industry crashed right after the pandemic. And, it's a shame that people cannot really enjoy the natural resources that Cuba have. I mean, you can go to Cuba. It's not illegal to go to Cuba. However, you can't go to Cuba as a tourist. So they can say that if you went to Cuba and you went to the beach you could, quote unquote, at a far fetch, be guilty of financing the Cuban government, and therefore you could be charged as a U.S. citizen with aiding and abetting the enemy. So, those are some of the things that we're looking at and we're seeing taking place. But also, I just want to mention some little things about what's going on in Venezuela, because today was the accumulation of a struggle that's been taking place since the national elections in September, where you have a man by the name of Edmundo Garcia, who says that, Edmundo Gonzalez, who says that he won the elections. Now, Edmundo is a longtime CIA asset. He was the ambassador to El Salvador during the Contra Wars. And he helped to direct a lot of the people who were killing El Salvadorians, including Catholic priests and nuns, for the United States. Many of the murders and massacres that took place in El Salvador was planned, organized, and executed out of the Venezuela embassy when Edmundo was the ambassador there. And he is currently in the United States, and he's going around the United States, asking the U.S. government to invade Venezuela and put him in power, but also to see if they will accept him as the new Juan Guaido. And you remember Juan Guaido, who was appointed president of Venezuela by the Trump administration, and that never came to fruition, and he's living down in Florida, scared to go home because he'll be charged with all kinds of crimes. And, a lot of good things has taken place in Venezuela. Venezuela has hosted 3 anti-fascist conferences of people from all over the world, especially all over the Caribbean. And the third one is still going on right now. There is major anti-fascist festivals taking place, but also today they are celebrating an anniversary where the government of Venezuela has a program called CLAP. And this program gives food to people who may not have food. And right now, CLAP has declared that in last year, they have distributed something like 3.5 million boxes of food, free to the Venezuelan masses who needed it. So we're seeing all of this going on. We also know that in Cuba, there was just recently a conference that was hosted by the United Nations. It was the United Nations Conference on the Year of Africa, and it was on racism. And it was attended by a number of people from the United States. Many of them I think Rafiki had a bunch of folks who were down there. There were people from Maryland who was down there, people from Virginia, Lee Robinson, them that was down there. I unfortunately could not afford to go, but I got reports daily on what was taking place, and it was a very good conference. And I think it has brought the struggle around the question of racism to the forefront because, you know, there's people who've been pushing that there's racism in Cuba and we need to struggle against this racism in Cuba, although, you know, these same people may not necessarily talk about struggling against this racism here. So that's another issue. And I just wanted to mention those things and wrap it up right here and thank Brother Congo again.
Okay. Thank you, my brother, for that update and that review. You know, I am particularly interested in what happens on the racial side of things when in Latin America.
Definitely.
I know that's a big issue. A big issue almost in every country in Latin America. Of course, I felt there were some positive feelings from that I had when in the last elections, Colombia had elected a vice president who there is no doubt at all about her Africanity. So, you know, it's interesting that that was a conference going on there in Venezuela, which you know, as you know, has its issues, some serious ones too, including that issue of Hugo Chavez being called all kinds of names because of his African ancestry. So it is there. And we also know that Cuba has its issues. And that goes to, it's not something that's a policy of the government or in any way, shape, or form, any social organization that I know coming out there. But there has always been that during the time when, you know, before the revolution, and we cannot expect that that's going to change overnight just because there was a revolution. And the revolution did make some mistakes in the sense that they felt all you had to do was bring forward equality, and that would change things. So anyway, thank you for that. We know of we've been hearing about the issues of electricity, and electricity, if you don't have power, you know, you're gonna short circuit a whole bunch of stuff. The health-wise, I understand that the hospitals have you know, generators that's been helping them in the health situation, but in other places, it's a serious matter, and no economy can run at full effect if it has issues with power the way Cuba does. But the fact that it's something that's being orchestrated is a sad thing, because, you know, our feelings as UNIA and our specific concentration on what is happening in the African world is telling us that part of the problem is that there is no real care for anywhere where there are African people. And nobody cares. And I say nobody, I'm talking about the Euro-centered places. They really and truly don't care what happens to African people, so long as they can get the resources that they need coming from where these people are. Essentially, the Cuban Revolution is a criminal revolution in their minds, because it is not allowing them to do exactly what they want to do with Cuba. So anyway, we're going to come back to the issue of Ayiti, and we're going to have if there are any questions coming from anyone in the audience regarding Ayiti and what was told to us by Sister Eugenia, you can ask those questions right now. Now, now, Sister Eugenia, since we're not getting.
I have a zillion questions.
Oh, okay, Mama Tenda. Okay.
Sister, I know the focus has been basically on Port-au-Prince and that area. But I also had read that on the other side of the island, our people are having some conflict with the Dominicans because of the canal that they were building. Can you give us a little detail on that? And also, one of the things I had talked about was like the resources, the mineral resources that exist in Haiti. And even with all the so-called conflict going on, the mineral resources are still being dug up and exported and so on and so forth. And there seems no issue in terms of getting those out of the country, although you supposedly can't fly into the country through Port-au-Prince, but there's other ways in which those things are occurring. So I'd appreciate it if you would kind of give us a little more detail on those things.
Thank you, Mama, for the question. So yes, so presently the planes that normally come from the US to Haiti is Spirit, JetBlue, and American Airline. So those planes had decided to stop flying because the flight, a Spirit flight was about to land in Haiti, was apparently hit by bullets from the gangs, and that flight left Haiti and went to land in the Dominican Republic. There were images showing inside the plane where the bullet had reached, and then they said there were people in the plane who got injured. But there was never any images of the victim themselves. It was just image of where the bullets had hit in the plane. So it also was said to be that the gangs who hit the plane, it was a planned activity in a way to push it to another level. So American Airline has closed their flights in Haiti, and they have now opened something in the Dominican Republic to fly into the Dominican Republic. Spirit and JetBlue are not flying into Haiti probably until late into this year, 2025. But at the same time, US military airplane, I will say at least once a week, is landing at the airport in Haiti. Nobody knows what they're coming for, but we can say we know what it is. The soldiers from Guatemala have landed. So the airport was shut down for about close to 3 weeks. And then the presidential council members decided to reopen it, even though flights are not coming directly from the US into the airport. Like I said, the US military planes are coming into the airport. There are flights going into country in Latin America that is also leaving the airport. So right now there is Sunrise, which is a company that operates within the country that takes people from Cap Haitians to Kai and Port-au-Prince, but Sunrise have decided that they're not gonna fly into Port-au-Prince, but they do have flights from Cap Haitian to Okai to Jérémie, and then Sunrise do take people to Florida. It's just that the cost has become extremely expensive for a person to get a flight from Haiti to Florida. people who have the money and are able to rent private helicopters, rent private helicopters, and they will be dropped off somewhere in one of those islands in the Caribbean, and where they will be able to take another flight into the US if they want to travel. That's how that is. So that's impacting the populations. There are people who were supposed to travel who are stranded in Haiti who's not been able to come back. At the same way, there were Haitians who were traveling, visiting family who's now stranded in the US and not able to return as a result of lack of flight. So that's kind of impacting the economy in a sense that banks in Port-au-Prince or banks in the other departments are now limiting the amount of cash a person is able to take out. Most of the banks are now telling the clientele that they are only able to take maybe $100 US per day, but they set the cap at different amount for how much goods a person can be able to withdraw from the bank. And because of the gang blocking the traffic from the north and the south part of the country, so goods from those different departments are not coming into Port-au-Prince as easily as they used to. The what we call the Madasara, which are the ladies who purchase goods from the countryside and come resell it in the city. So those ladies have not been able to do that. So a lot of the produce that are being harvested in the larger greater south part of the country, a lot of stuff are going bad because the vendors are not able to enter Port-au-Prince with them. So with that, to buy a container of rice or to buy a few plantains, to buy some vegetables, the price have quadrupled because of that. So going back to the other part of the questions to in terms of resources leaving the country, it used to be speculation that Haiti sort of have natural resources, but as we are, today's the 10th, so we are 2 days away from commemorating the 15 years since the earthquake that took place in 2010, where over 300,000 people were victims. So we have not rebuilt much since then. It's tough. So after the earthquake, many of the natural resources, particularly petroleum, that we knew we had, so that when the tectonic plate shifted, those were able to come closer to the surface. So there are, and another thing regarding the gangs, each of the areas where there is a major gang that is situated on that spot, there is some kind of natural resources that is within the vicinity area where that gang leader is staying. And the gang is there to protect that natural resources for the people who's coming in to harvest it. In the Cité Soleil area, there are petroleum in Cité Soleil, and there are many other resources over there. In the Titayen area, we have a water, it's like a sulfuric water, but it's also that has healing property. There is a gang over there, and that is something that the US have been exploring and harvesting. We have a lot of emeralds, rare things that you don't find in other places that they've been harvesting, and they've been hiring Haitians to clean them for them after they remove them from the dirt they are stuck at the US Embassy. And those things are also being taken out of the country. So the Haitians that they have hired to help clean and pack them, sometimes they take pictures and circulate the pictures on WhatsApp to show the type of resources that we have that are being taken out. So we also have iridium. We have a large chunk of iridium in the southeast part of Haiti. So you can see now Elon Musk is interested in Haiti. and has started in 2023 to provide internet services to the folks. That is also links. As you know, they need iridiums for different things that he wants to go into space. And you can see the type of contract that he had with countries in Latin America harvesting for his Tesla. So Haiti is a lucrative place for people like Elon Musk to go have the money. So, and we have cobalt, we have golds, we have so many natural resources that are untouched underground. So you can look at what's happening in Haiti, very similar to what they have done in Africa, where there is a lot of gang, a lot of young kids who have weapons. And so if you want to understand what's happening in Haiti, look at the Blood Diamond movie, and you'll easily understand and see the comparisons. So we know there were weapons in the country. I mean, we knew we had, gangs, but they used to just kidnap people for money. But right now, it's basically the same politics that's were being played in Africa. It's what is being played currently in Haiti. So those gangs are not there just there to terrorize the populations. They are there to make sure that they remove the populations from the area where the natural resources are. Then it makes it easier from folks who have purchased those land illegally to come in and harvest them. And the other thing is, if you look through those different international treaties, when there is gang in an area and people are being displaced, the NGOs who comes in those areas to provide services, they utilize those NGOs to do the deed for them. Some of those NGOs have been found to be carrying weapons to the gangs in Haiti. The other major problem we are having is organ trafficking. A lot of the people that you are hearing that have been killed, their organs have been trafficked. People are going missing, or you may find the person and they are open. Their heart is gone, their kidney is going. So the business be organs crossing the border into the Dominican Republic, or small planes coming to pick them up, that's a big money. And some of the gang leaders are heavily involved in organ trafficking. And some of the gang leaders are dealing with the cartels in Colombia and providing a harvest for them for drugs to transport into other countries. So Haiti has become this entangled into this web of mafia and money-making business for people. So it's not just about the folks on the ground themselves. So it is just challenging. And the other part of your question, Mama, was regarding the canal. So, we share the river, we share the border with the Dominican Republic. You can have 1 foot in Haiti and 1 foot in the DR. So before we even go into the canal, we can look at the racist policies that the Dominican Republics have had against Haiti. We know that the DR for years, they have not recognized Haitians who are having children in the Dominican Republic. They don't provide birth certificates for them. And the Haitians who are working in the Bate area are working under horrendous conditions. So they, with the government of Abinadel, they decided that the recent decision that they're going to deport at least 10,000 Haitians every week. The last report that I've seen that came out in late December, they had deported 270,000 people back into Haiti. Mind you, the majority of those people that are being deported, their parents left Haiti years ago. So they were born on the island and know nothing really about Haiti. And some of them, they don't really know where to go in Haiti. And if they leave the border, if they come from the south and now they are in the northern part of the country, there's no way for them to commute back to the southern part of the country because of the insecurity. When they are picked up in the Dominican Republic, they pick them up without their proper documentations. They may be going on the store or just standing by their house and they pick them up. So they leave their children behind. And sometimes they take the children who are coming from school without their parents knowing. They ship them across the border. They put them in horrendous conditions. They use like almost like baseball. They beat them up. It's just very traumatizing. But with the issue of the canal, because we share the Rivière-Massacre, the Massacre River, and that particular river is called the Massacre River because past government had committed an atrocity killing over 30,000 Haitians, and the river was covered in blood and bodies. So that's how it inherited the name, the River Massacre. So a large portion of the water comes from rivers that are in Haiti, and then some of it meet with another river that's coming from the DR. So those two rivers together meet to create the Massacre River. But the larger part of the water is coming from our area. So the peasant in the Plaine Marie Barreau in Wanamet, over there is a factory that called the Codevi factory. That particular factory was built during the Aristide government's second term. It was a project pushed by the US government to its factories, but they had taken very fertile lands from the peasants to build that factory. So those people who used to produce rice, who used to produce yam and bananas, are no longer having that land. And with the water, the Dominican Republic's folks will block the water to prevent the water from coming through. So the peasants who produce rice in the Maribor area, they were losing their harvest. So they're like, what can we do to bring water into the rice so we can continue to survive? So the peasants decided that they were going to dig for themselves to take part of the water from the Massacre River and bring it in and have it distributed to water their rice. That's basic simple. And we have signed a bilateral agreement with the Dominican Republic back in the 1900s to show that we could utilize the water. They will use it, we will use it. So both countries can survive because we share that border together. But the Abinadel government decided that they will not allow the Haitians to get access to the river, to the water, to water their rice, because they wanted to make sure that Haitians continue to purchase food from the Dominican Republic. But you need to understand that Haiti is put in this political entrapment where our coconuts are being sprayed. Our sourshops are being sprayed. Our farm rice are being sprayed at night by small plane from the DR and elsewhere. And normally you can see them flying over spraying. Then after that, you will see that the crop will turn really black or some mushroom-like disease will begin to eat away the leaves. Then that's how a lot of our soursop, our coffee plantations have been destroyed because they were sprayed. So our coconuts are being destroyed because they were sprayed, the bananas. So it's, and the food that is being produced in the DR and to sell to the Haitians, they are not of good qualities. And they produce really toxic food to send to Haiti. And during the time that the Haitians decided to build a canal, they had closed their border, saying that they don't want anything from Haiti to come into their border, and they don't want Haitians to travel into the Dominican Republic. So right now, if you have a Haitian passport, you land in the Dominican Republic, they're going to put you on the flight back to the US. There's been Haitians who are US citizens who lands in the DR, but because their passport says they were born in Haiti, they get immediately deported back into the US. Some of them have gotten arrested. Some of them has been pulled at the airport into special prison inside the airport and beaten. by Dominicans, immigration police officers at the airport. So to go back to the river, so the community pulled together and the diaspora got involved. We fundraise and send money to construct the dam to be able to get the water to circulate. So now the rice that was produced from the dam that's been constructed is being sold here in the US and Canada and different part of the north, and it's a beautiful thing. So, but there's still this beef between, because Abinader feels that he's the only person who's entitled to use the water. They've used generators to pump the water out of the river so it wouldn't drain into the Haitian side. So giving that the largest river providing water into the Massacre River is from Haiti, so the technicians went around and cut the river and make it flow in the opposite directions to remove our branch from their river so we can bring the water into the dam to be able to for the farmers to have water to produce rice. So that hostility is still there. The government at the time we had in Haiti was Ariel Henry. He worked with the Dominican Republics and he said that he was not supporting or did not provide any assistance to the committee who was building the canal. They wanted to stop it, but the population took it upon themselves to hold on and pursue through with it. So right now, there is still a beef between the DR and the Dominican Republic, but we're gonna carry on. The canal has the acronym that we will not stop making canals. So since then, in different part of Haiti, the different communities has galvanized themselves and they begin producing more canal to irrigate so they can grow food for themselves.
By Ogun people.
Yes.
So they will never be defeated.
No, not at all. We don't have that kind of mentality, Mama.
That's why I said by Ogun people.
Yes, yes. And I think that's go back to the quotes from Toussaint Louverture. He said, in taking me, you have only chopping down the tree of freedom, it will rise up again because their roots are deep and numerous. So every time you think you're gonna block us in one area, we will find another strategic way to come out on top.
No, that's the future. It will never, never be defeated, but they will always be coming after it because Haiti possesses everything that folk want, and it's never been forgiven for gaining its independence. Yeah. Ashe, Mama. You give me hope, because I'm saying I was reading about the canals. I wanted to know the truth about it and what was going on with the people. So now I'm satisfied. I feel good.
Yes, yes, indeed. It's been a good project and they're gonna continue on with it. So
okay.
yes.
At the end, we're gonna find out what we can do to assist.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Mama Eugenia. Let me say that you know that the Haitian people are resilient people. They have shown that throughout the years of occupation by the U.S., throughout the years that the U.S. has dominated the scene, throughout the years that they have,
yeah. Baba Congo, did you have a question?
Baba Congo, your hand, you got a hand up there.
Yes, yes, I find it's amazing that since 1804, we talk about gang. The biggest gang was the French and the U.S. that put an embargo on Haiti, and the neighboring country of Santo Domingo, which to me live off mostly tourism, and a lot of our fellow people here, they fly to Santo Domingo and don't know that the way Haitians are treated in Santo Domingo that are born there and also visit there are treated more or less as second-class citizens. But that doesn't get into the news. That one way that we in the diaspora we can hurt the Santo Domingo for mistreating of Haitian black people, although I would say half of the people in Santo Domingo they're black too, but sometimes they don't even know it. It's, but it's sad that we have CARICOM, Benin, and Kenya and United States still ganging up, and they're talking about gangs. These are these are international gangs invading a small country that has nothing to do with them. It's a country that could be self-sufficient, but no one let them be self-sufficient and self-rule. I mean, there's no reason why we should have 9 people appointed by the U.S. running anybody's country. Anyway, it's and that's what they've done to Haiti. They are going to do the same. They're trying to do the same thing to Cuba for no reason, and also Venezuela. Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia, and they can't sell no oil. I mean, a legal product. They must want them to sell, drugs or something, cocaine or whatever. But I mean, people want to sell oil. The Cuban people are suffering like crazy for no reason since 1960, 1959 or wherever. But again, Haiti is 1804, but the thing is Cuba is next. And after that is going to be Venezuela. In the meantime, most of the Caribbean countries are suffering too. Not as much, but it's still suffering of black people. And some of us are feeding into it or ignoring it. It's a very, very big shame.
Yeah,
That's
there's
all I
a
have to
few,
say.
yeah, a few things I want to add, Baba, based on your comments, is that with the Dominican Republic, you should know that if you are of color, you decide to travel to the Dominican Republic. I've heard and seen numerous reports where African Americans themselves who travel to the DR, sometimes they get picked up thinking they are Haitians. And they too have had to deal with the blunt of racism in the Dominican Republic. So if you do decide to go, just understand that you can be mistaken for being Haitian just because you are Black and receive similar treatments to what the Haitians have to endure on a regular basis. With regard to Venezuela, Venezuela shared the same line of gas that Haiti has, and it's coming from the same line, and Haiti has more than what Venezuela has. So should we reach the level where we can harvest our own, we will be able to provide sufficiently for our populations and develop. So I think the other things that I want to add regarding Haiti being independent since 1804, it is, for me, it's a sad thing after 221 years of independence for us to be in this situation. But I think what has happened with the assassinations of Jean-Jacques Dessalines early on after our independence, we've missed the opportunity to strategize and concretize where we needed to be as a nation. But the other reason why we are being penalized, and Haitians seem to have forgotten that we are a country who is at war on a regular basis. So we don't have the luxury to think that we're going to sit and so is going to come help us because they are our friends. We don't have friends as a nation. Perhaps as people, as individual, we talking to each other, we may be friends, but as a country, we are seen as a threat. And we need to behave and comport ourselves like our founding fathers did by asking us to be vigilant of the people who's coming that we are being friend with, to be vigilant of the people we allow to touch our souls. So many of our current leaders who find themselves very friendly with the institutions who make it their business to destroy us, they need to change their hats and they need to buckle up and understand we are a country at war, and the only way we're gonna remain on top is to fight for ourselves and fight for our sovereignty and fight to stand for the position that Dessalines left, that we are the beacon of light and we are to fight against oppression and we are to fight against slavery. And the fight in Haiti is to let Black people know if Haiti succeed, all Black people will succeed. If Haiti succeed, the African continent will succeed. So it's not just Haiti that is being taken down. It's a fight against the Black race. So my thing is that I hope all of us who are in this movement can understand that and work together and understand what happened in Haiti. It will impact us in one way or another.
Senor?
Yeah, I'm going to be real brief, but I want to just thank both of our great guests.
Can barely hear you.
I said I want to thank both of our great guests who have shared so much information, but I'm going to move to speak to the people that are listening to this. Everything points back to monopoly capitalism in America, everything that we talk about. And it's very important for us to unite because, as Sister just said, as Haiti goes, Africa goes. As Africa goes, if we don't speak truth to power about everything that's taking place in Haiti, Cuba, Venezuela, Africa, the US of A, all over the world, wherever African people are, we're under attack. We're at war. And we are sitting back, some of us in our so-called comfort zone, and don't want to speak truth to power. So I just want to thank the guests for sharing the information. And I hope everybody listening understand the biggest issue is monopoly capitalism of America, period.
Right.
Everywhere you go, you can.
And racism, Baba. Racism is the tool.
Okay, Mama, I hear you clearly. But when I say monopoly capitalism, that's what I'm talking about. Because monopoly capitalism means that they care nothing about humanity. They only care about capitalism, meaning they will kill the human beings for the resources of the land everywhere. Africa, everywhere everything I've heard tonight points back to America. And people listening to this need to understand, as long as America can get away with what they're doing in Haiti, Cuba, they can do it right here. And I say in 2025, watch it. That's why we need to unify, as Bambose said clearly. The only thing that's going to save us is us. And the biggest enemy, the biggest gang, the real gang is America. Monopoly capitalists, that's the gang. And any other gangs are monopolized and capitalized mentally by that American energy, and they emulate it, whether they black, green, gray, or whatever. They are falling into the monopoly capitalist zone of oppression. And it's very important for us to speak truth to power. So I'm not just trying to talk to us, because we know. I'm talking to those people out there listening on Facebook and people who see this. Understand, the biggest problem is America. And as a Garveyite, I'm going to make it plain and clear. And being a leader of the government, I want to make that clear too. The Garvey movement is very clear. Anywhere you're attacking Black people, you're attacking us everywhere. And if we don't rise up to fight against that, like you said, Mama, colonialism, neo-colonialism, you call it whatever you want, racism, fascism, it all comes from the monopoly capitalists that are trying to control all the resources of the planet and to kill us. And if we don't wake up, it could come to your door, even in America. I'm gonna stop there.
Hey, let me say, I'm not quite sure what the people in the DR are. because for the most part, I think they're African, 99%. There are a few white people there, but the majority is just confused Africans. And I think, there was a story that used to go around about Sudan, about how this division that was created in England over the Sudan said, a brother from the South decided he wanted to go to New York and especially to Harlem because he heard there were so many Africans in New York and in Harlem. And he went to New York and he went to Harlem and he turned around and went back to the Sudan. And folks asked him, well, what happened? He said, well, I went to Harlem, but there's only Arabs there. So you see how we have been made to see ourselves as something different. Brothers in the Sudan who looks just like me, both in the North and the South, created this difference that the brothers in the North is Arabs. And this question of the DR, we have to resolve it. We have to resolve it because there's no logical reason or explanation for people in the DR to treat our brothers and sisters in Haiti like they do. None.
My brother, I do agree with you.
But I think, Baba, that's the same situation we got going on in Cameroon. That's the reason why I said colonialism. You
yes.
got colonial powers. It's okay. So people speak a different language. They think they're different.
Yes.
Confusion. It's confusion. The DR's history is about teaching people that they're not African. They'll do their darndest to not be African. And that's why a whole lot of that skin whiteners and all that stuff sells like crazy over there. And besides that, you had a president who whitened himself, straightened his hair, did everything he can to not look African, and had the educational system teach that they are not Africans, they are mulattoes. Now, what is that? You've come to the United States. They even called it the Mulatto Republic at one time. Now, you come to the United States as soon as you land, but the one-drop rule comes in. And if you notice, people who are in the magazines and in the United States, anywhere you look in entertainment and so on, you see somebody who looks almost white or can pass for white, but yet still he's Negro. We have historians of African descent who look close to white and consider themselves black because of the one-drop rule. And these people in the DR are so confused. I mean, they're coming here and are confused. You can find it in Harlem, USA.
Yeah.
The west side of Harlem in the USA. They've got them there. We've seen them on TV and all that stuff, talking about this stuff. It's terrible. Well, anyway, I have to thank you both for your presentations here this evening. We have been educated in a lot of ways, and it's a lot more that can be said, and we can discuss a lot more regarding especially Cuba, which we have had a little bit of. But let's face it, we do have an enemy, and I always try to use a diplomatic language so as not to be specific about who the enemy is. And it's a white man. And I say man because basically it's the white man who is doing this dirty work. And we have a State Department in the United States. Either they're grossly incompetent or they're deliberately criminal for what they're doing in Haiti and elsewhere. And like Baba Senghor says, a whole lot of that has to do with capitalism, and they don't care about the human being. We can see that right here in Russia and the Ukraine, where human beings are being chewed up by arms and ammunition from the United States and Russia. A group of people whom you can only call, they're all Russians in any way. I mean, I shouldn't say they're all Russian, that could get me in trouble. They're like brothers. The language is brotherly. I mean, let's face it. And they're chewing each other up because of what they have as resources. The Western capitalists, the monopoly capitalists want what they have, and they don't care how many of them die, so long as they can get that resource. And you've got a certain man who is saying certain things. He needs what Ukraine has because it has one of the largest deposits of rare earth for electronics, battery systems. And there it is. They will kill you off no matter what you look like, so long as they stay in power. And we have it's sad, but you live in the United States and you got to say these things. And they're turning China into an enemy, Russia into an enemy. They want to start a war because the people of the United States know very little about this, because they're not taught that in schools. They're taught that the United States is the most liberal and democratic country in the world. Little do they know. Well, anyway, folks, I'm happy that you've been able to express yourselves, your opinions on the Freedom Friday Forum today. And for Haiti, let me say that some people may not have a background. They may hear about the revolution, etc., and so forth, but they need to get deeper into it. I'd like to make a few recommendations, and maybe Sister Eugenia may have some too. I have a book here. Let me see if you can see that. It's called Liberté. I may be corrupting that pronunciation, but this is a book that deals with the Haitian Revolution. It's an anthology, which means several people have written about their essays in here about the revolution. There's also one here, Taking Haiti. This is about the U.S. occupation, the 17-year occupation of Haiti and what was done there. It's a sad story, folks. You who think that the United States is all about democracy, etc., read this book. Get this book and read it, and you will see for yourself the kind of things that went on in Haiti, U.S. occupation. To this day, every place they put their hands, they poison these places. They're toxic. American democracy outside of America is toxic. Maybe in America it's toxic as well, because racism hasn't ended. But yes, there's also Papa Doc. Now this one here, I don't know. The persons who wrote in here, I have some issues with their the way they wrote it. But and then there's the Parish of the Poor. A whole lot of people may not want to read this anymore because of whatever, but this is Parish of the Poor. Get this book if you haven't read it. Know what the poor people in Haiti go through. Here it is, another one. Medicine and Morality in Haiti. You see, this book you will cover. It's more like the social order of the peasantry, the people in Haiti, or we should say, the indigenous Haitian, how they operate. Medicine and Morality in Haiti. That is religion and medicine and how they deal with that. Slave revolution in the Caribbean. There are a lot of resources that some of you can get hold of these books. Get these things and read. You've got to know about Haiti. As Black people, you need to know what Haiti is all about. To you, especially because it's the first revolution in the Americas to free Black people. And that is why it's hated to this day. They don't want that place to go anywhere. These white men who hate Black people, they don't. Haiti is still under punishment for defeating the French and the British and the Spanish together in their armies, combined. A Black man did that as a general.
And the United States.
People, you got to know this history.
Yeah.
And the United States is indebted to them.
Yeah, well,
because the United States would have ended at the
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Mama. Indebted to them, and you know they embargoed after the revolution. They refused to recognize Haiti. You know, hey, you beat a white man. No. You beat a white army. No, we can't recognize you. No. Here's another one. The Irritated Jenny.
Yeah.
Get this book and read it. This book is by Jacob Carruthers, who a historian out of the United States, out of Chicago.
Also was a Garveyite. He was
yes, indeed. Yes, that's true too.
I want to make that clear.
A deep Garveyite.
So nothing is new under the sun. And I'm glad you're sharing those weapons of construction, Baba.
Yes.
That's right what our people need to understand.
Yeah, we need to get deeper into this. When it comes to Haiti, we need to know it. Listen, every single thing that happens that is negative in Haiti, we in the United States, we should be in an uproar. We should not let this happen. We need to be, every time they call for a demonstration against what is going on in Haiti, we should be out there. Now, people.
And Brother Mossy.
Yes, sir.
You got to add CLR James.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it wasn't close by, so.
No problem.
Yes. CLR
No problem. Black Jacob.
Yes.
Black Jacobin.
Yeah, that's one. That's a very popular reading, and yeah. So you know, it's easy to find resources that will update you or educate you on what Haiti is all about. So people, that is it. You should also read on Cuba. I don't have any reference here about Cuba, but you ought to know that some of the heroes in Cuba who fought the Spanish for independence were Black folks.
Right.
The army that defeated the Spanish was a Black army. And what happened to them? You need to find out. Today, Cuba,
what's going on in Africa?
Cuba has a large population of Africans that you don't hear about. They don't talk about it. It's not in the discourse. And it needs to be. Why are they making the Cuban people suffer like that? It needs to be in the discourse. Okay, my people. Thank you very much for
one other thing that I'd like people to know, that Cuba's being punished because it freed South Africa, Mozambique.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah.
All that, you know.
Like I said.
And they don't tell folk that they do allow, but it's primarily white students who go there to their medical school.
Oh.
The medical school
too. Now, yeah, I've met a few students who came out of the Caribbean. Not a few. I met quite a few. Quite a bit of students who studied medicine in Cuba out of the Caribbean.
Right.
And some of them from here.
And Africa.
Yes, indeed, Africa.
But we don't, from the U.S., they don't know about it, so they don't get to go. But the whites do, and also to Grenada.
In the U.S., under the auspices of Pastors for Peace out of New York, have been recruiting students to go to the medical school because they have free scholarships. And if you're from an underserved African or non-white neighborhood, you can go to Cuba to become a doctor for free.
That's what Cuba needs our support. That's why Cuba needs our support. Cuba is supporting us.
Africans must unite, y'all. Africans must unite.
Of course.
World.
You know, today, South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, you name it. They would not be free had it not been for the Cuban people.
Yes, this is true.
We need to support the Cuban people. I think they're the most noble people on this earth right now, for far as I'm concerned, for what they have done for Africa. As an African, I'm speaking that way.
Well, they are Africans, man. That's the whole thing. Africans have creative genius all over the world. We just got to unite and stop foolishness from, like you said, I ain't going to even call them the white man. I'm going to call them, like I say, the crackers. You know?
Well, I'm being
my granddaughter, said they were pink people.
All right.
I told you they're not white. My granddaughter called them pink people when she was a baby.
Oh, well, I'm not going to say anything because that's what I thought my grandfather was. He wasn't exactly, he was part, but he looked kind of pink. So this is it. All right, folks. Thank you very much. I hope this this will be an educational feature for most of you who will review it, and for most of you who have been on here this evening. So thank you very much.
Brothers and sisters, thank you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you Brother Bambose. Yes, Sister Eugenia.
Thank you all.
And for all
Take
of you
good care of
right
yourself.
Yeah.
And let's do something positive for our race.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Of course.
We cannot be defeated.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Aluta
Sister
continue.
Rabita, did you have something? Rabi?
Hey, I'm listening in. I definitely, as I shared on the BACC platform yesterday, we have to stick together and show up for one another. And you guys don't know this, but yesterday I was dragged to court for advocating for our Black women being abused in the shelters. I mean, it's a high level of abuse, food deprivation, intimidation, bullying, by the staff. And I've talked about it before. I had to go to court yesterday. The judge didn't even let me talk, so I filed a motion for a retrial, and I'm gonna call that cracker's name out. What was his name, Judge? Gosh, what was it? Judge Vomit? I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, my sister, I think people
Judge
will know you
Moffitt,
more in the future.
Moffitt. He did not let me get a word in. I had 10 witnesses. They try to put like a petty peace order against me, so we can. John Christian Moffitt, we need to protest the hell out of the courtrooms, because they have these cracker KKK judges, putting young Black men in prisons, making these ruining families, breaking families apart. I mean, we really got to come together. And if you all are in the area of Montgomery County, we're not going to stop protesting at the women's shelter. And, thank you, Bambose. He came out one day. We were going really hard that day. And I haven't mentioned, this is a slap suit. Some of you may know that's when they bring, court cases against, activists. And I filed a motion for a retrial because the judge was in judicial misconduct. He would not let me talk. He didn't allow me to cross-examine. He didn't allow me to have my 10 witnesses from, multiple organizations from across Montgomery County that came to testify on my behalf. He didn't allow it. So, we got to dismantle this cracker system. All these organizations that's run, these crackers start owning these organizations, then they'll hire a bunch of, melanated people, Black people, and we're diverse. No, you're getting all the money. You're using us. And I've said this and I'm gonna say it again. Progressive Maryland is owned by a Black man. he's hired white people to come and work in our spaces, our places, and they take our struggles, and these white people build their career off of our backs and our struggles. When it's time for them to give us, a desirable salary and a seat at the table, they don't give us anything. They want us to, come protest with us, come write letters to the politicians. No, you put these cracker politicians in office, you talk to them. Sorry, I am
All right,
infuriated by what's going on, but thank you so much. It's an honor being amongst you all, and I got a lot of information and wisdom from you all.
Okay, Robert.
We have to
Thank you.
remember.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sister.
Thank
We
you.
can't get found guilty and have no penalties, but thank you.
All right.
you.
Baba
Thank you.
Maru?
Yes.
Rue was saying something about what you say.
I was saying from the 1960s, Lyndon Johnson Great Society, there has been the modus operandi since the 1960s where poverty pimping is the biggest industry.
Yeah.
I just want to say one quick thing. I was here at Oxon Hill. I'm in Oxon Hill now. I was doing a podcast with a young black man, but on the 15th of January at 7 p.m. They have it's a what is it? We the Veterans, Black Veterans organization. So if you all can come and be a part of it, we'll just be having like a get together and networking. It's 6618 Oxon Hill Road, Oxon Hill, Maryland, Suite 810, and I'll email it to Baba Mosi later on as well.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Now that's it. And if anybody has any other announcement to make, you can do that. Before we close. I should mention that the next Freedom Friday will be coming on the 24th of January, and that will be Professor Rassion. He will be speaking about our family, raising our families. I think the subtitle is from the cradle to the grave or something like that. How we should be raising our children, in other words. And it'll be a 3-part series, and that's the first part of it.
From the womb to the
January
tomb.
24th. Yes.
Womb to the tomb.
See what?
From the womb to the tomb.
From the womb to the tomb. I'm sorry. Okay. From the cradle to the grave. From the womb to the tomb. Okay. All right then. Okay. Let me close because it's about that time. All right, and I'll ask you to share with me or to close with me with the motto of the UNIA-ACL, and that is one God,
one God,
one God,
one aim,
one aim,
one destiny,
one destiny,
one Africa,
one Africa.
All right, power to
Face
the
first.
Thank you. All right. Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.
Brother Heru, you got it.